What does it take to pick the winners in the ICO space? Well, Ian Balina knows a thing or two, as his system for choosing the companies most likely to moon has gone viral in the crypto community. Today, we welcome Ian to the show to discuss this system, his biggest wins in the ICO space, his projections for the overall crypto markets, and your questions. It's going to be epic. So put on your spaceman spiff helmet, hop in your Lambo, and get ready for takeoff. It's episode number 89 of the Bad Crypto Podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition.
Who's bad?
This is Luc Elfrink from Dogecoin in the Netherlands. You're listening to the Bad Crypto Podcast. Stay bad.
And welcome to the Crypto Podcast of Badness. And we are your bad hosts. I'm Joel Comm. That's Travis Wright. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing well. You know, I tell you what, folks, today you're going to love this episode. Ian Balina, this dude is a really, really smart guy and really near and dear to my heart because he's all about the data, Mr. Joel Comm. He worked at IBM. He was a data analyst. He's worked with analytics and the whatnots. He's worked with Watson. Whew, this is a good one. This is a good one.
You're going to love this episode so much. You're going to want to marry it. Mm-hmm. And so this episode is now taking proposals for suitors. Even though it is heard in 190 countries, we are accepting proposals in all the languages that those countries speak. And we're glad that you're here.
You know what? We will actually exchange this podcast for a dowry of goats. You like? We're good with that. We're down for all
crypto goat.
But not coin. Crypto kitties, because I lose those.
You do. Your kitties are still lost. You know, that thing is still growing pretty strong. I took a look at it just yesterday to make sure my kitties were still there, and they were, and they didn't look like they missed me at all. But some of the permutations are getting really unusual as the breeding continues, and the zero gen kitties are still going for about, I don't know, $500-$600 when I looked at them. So
I think my kitties probably need their litter box changed.
Your kitties are with the crazy cat lady living in a smelly house. Let's give shout outs to our show sponsors. The Zilla app. Heard from Abasa Phillips actually just this morning, and the workaround is just about ready. They're whether or not they get approved into the App Store, they will be releasing the app, and you'll have to do a little gymnastics to grab it initially, but I think it'll be interesting to go ahead and try that. Of course, it's a marketplace app. You guys can check it out at zla.io/bad. And also shout out to our new sponsor at Staff Virtual. It's staffvirtual.com. And if you're in the crypto space, these are the outsourcing experts. They've got years of expertise in customer support. They have applied this expertise to the cryptocurrency space. And if you want your ICO to be super successful, both in the launch and long-term customer support, go to staffvirtual.com. And then maybe you won't be so bad.
That's true, because, oh my gosh, there are so many customer support issues in the crypto space. Y'all need to get yourself some customer support people.
And then y'all need to come with us, because we're going to walk down the street and go to the mailbox.
Bad Crypto voicemail. You have one new message.
Yo, what's going on? This Shades from Detroit, and you're listening to the Bad Crypto Podcast. Remember, stay bad.
We are staying bad because there's no other state for us to be in except for Colorado and Missouri.
Or any other place in the world that we get drug off to.
We get drugged and taken off to other places.
I feel drugged right now, Mr. Joel Comm, because we've been traveling so much. I caught a little bit of phlegminess and been coughing and whatnot. So I hope I don't end up in a coffin.
You're Flemmy McFlemmerton.
That's true.
We're doing a lot of muting on the microphone. What you're not hearing is
we're muting the mucus for your ear pleasures.
Muticus. Well, if you guys want to phlegm it up for us, then you can call the Bad Crypto hotline at 708-885-9030. Tell us to stay bad or ask your questions. We do get a lot of questions.
Or sing magical internet money. They can do that too, right?
Yeah. In fact, here's a question that came via our contact form from Vince. He says, hey, Travis and Joel, this may have been covered before, but I'm sure you guys are in the same boat. What are you doing with all this wallet dust? It irks me to have all this magical
Internet money
that I can't get to, even though I own it. Is this problem being addressed by anyone, like a wallet dust coin or something? I don't know. Love the show. Stay bad, Vince. Yeah, we have talked about this, between you and I and others. There's this dust and it bothers me. You know, it's like little pieces of crypto, but like if you've got like pieces of Neo, you can't do anything with them because Neo has to be transferred as a whole number.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if you've 1.058962 Neo, guess what? That 0.0 whatever I said just sits there very unhappily by itself.
You know what I do, Mr. Joel Com?
What do you do?
So typically the dust happens whenever you're selling it. And so what I will do is if I have dust in one, well, then I will figure out what is the smallest that I can actually transfer to a wallet. And I will buy an amount that adds up that dust into a whole integer or into one big enough that I can trade. Because a lot of times when you have things that are like, 18 decimals, like those smaller decimals, like they don't round up and they just get left in your exchange. And there is no dust coin. There is no way for you to donate the dust. That would be nice if we could donate the dust, but it's so small in many cases that you can't even transact it. So what I will do is I will use math. And I will just add it up I will buy enough to add it up to the biggest integer and then transfer it off into a wallet.
What if an exchange would step up and where you could click to donate it, whatever's left, and it sweeps the dust from everybody who says that together, and it brings it into, whole amounts that could be donated to a cause that the community votes on for that month. And you know what they can call it? The Dustbuster. .io. Because I don't think there's enough money for anybody to do a dust coin, in this, because it's such a small amount, but I'd like to see that.
I just want to say this. Our manager's crazy. He always smokes dust. He's got his own room at the back of the bus.
Also via the contact form at badcryptopodcast.com, which you can access by going to the site and clicking contact Travis and Joel. Ben and Drenica, not sure which it is, but one of those is right, says, so some skeptics like me, I think you mean us, are listening to your podcast description of what a Ponzi scheme is. And the irony is, as you describe it, cryptocurrency, because the speculation works exactly like how any Ponzi scheme works. Because people are not really using it as a real currency, and it doesn't realize its value percentage-wise till you pull out, but would love your analysis on how it's different. Sincerely, your loyal listeners, Ben and Drenica, whichever it is. I don't think it's the same. Do you think it's the same? I don't see
a Ponzi scheme is the people at the top of the pyramid are the ones that get all the benefits. And, ICOs, cryptocurrency, it's not like that at all. Now, if you are in Bitcoin, then that was a Ponzi scheme. But not all of them are Ponzi schemes. And ICOs are actually a very solid mechanism to grow some pretty substantial wealth. And Mr. Joel Com, we're going to be talking about ICOs today with Mr. Ian Balina, right?
We are indeed. By the way, I just, when you said BeConnect, I had to take a look to see where it is right now. Any guesses? I don't know if you've looked lately, but would you like to hazard a guess?
Last time I checked, it was like $30-something. Is below 30?
So you haven't checked basically since, I want to say, we did the show back about a month ago. January 18th.
Oh my God.
It is at $3.89, my friend.
Oh my gosh. That sounds like such a great time to buy.
Well, I'll tell you, here's the thing. If, with penny stocks, some of these companies go under and they sit there as a shell. And in the stock world, if you want to get listed on, the OTC even, not even NASDAQ or Amex, it costs a lot of money. So what a lot of these companies do is they get on the pink sheets by reverse merging into a shell that's just sitting there. And so there are once upon a time, I had some stock in a company that went out of business became a shell, and an internet company reverse merged into it. And all of a sudden, the stock I had in the shell came to life. So would anybody ever touch BitConnect and bring it back? Then those that are still hodling, there might be some value to the tokens that they were scammed out of. Maybe.
Maybe so. Doubtful.
Very doubtful. I don't know that $3.89 is a good buy point for BitConnect, although I am not a financial advisor. I can tell you that I will not be purchasing any.
Yeah. You know what? BitConnect, you're dead to me. You're swimming with the fishes.
Well, you've already talked up the interview with our new friend, Ian Balina. You guys are going to dig this. Get ready to put all of your attention, not just some of it, all of it, onto the sounds coming into your ears, because here's our feature segment. It is super happy fun time. Do you know why?
Why is that?
Because we have a guest today that many of our listeners have been asking for. And as they were asking for him, I discovered him. And I'm like, this is a super happy fun guy who's super into crypto and would make for a great guest because he's super successful in the crypto space. You know what I'm talking about?
That is true. Absolutely. Not only that, but he has this data-driven Moneyball approach to investing in crypto. And, personally, as a marketing technologist, I've spoken around the world about data-driven marketing and why analytics and data are so important into making good decisions. I wrote about that in my book, right? And so our guest today is Ian Balina. And he's the former analytics evangelist at IBM. And this guy knows about the cryptos.
He does. He's been a blockchain and crypto investor. He's an advisor. He's an evangelist. He's been all over the mainstream media, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, CNBC, Huffington Post, The Street, Inc., entrepreneur, and now the cream of the crop. He's here to drop some knowledge on bad crypto. Welcome, Ian. How you doing?
Hey, I'm glad to be on.
And we are glad that you are here. And we've got a lot of questions from our fans in the Bad Crypto Mastermind. For those of you that aren't in there yet, why not? Over 6,500 strong with great conversation at badco.in/mastermind. And we're going to get to some of their questions. But, before we do, I kind of want to know how you began this journey into crypto. What sucked you into the rabbit hole?
I was working at IBM. A buddy of mine saw, hey, you're working at IBM. IBM's making some moves in blockchain space. Can you put me in touch with the director of blockchain at IBM? And that was a very big ask for him. So I kind of qualified him. I'm like, okay, why do you care so much about this space? And he told me he was working as a blockchain developer in San Francisco, working on some blockchain projects. But even more importantly, he was investing in cryptocurrency. And initially, I thought cryptocurrency, Bitcoin and stuff like that was for the dark web, for bad people. Mm-hmm. But he kind of convinced me that, hey, there's actually solid people working in this space on projects. And he showed me how he was making more money in cryptocurrency than the stock market. And me being an investor, once I heard that, I was in. I was sold. I didn't really have to ask any further questions after that. Pretty much just kind of went out there, dived in, tried to learn more about this space. My philosophy in life is to always try something once before saying no. So I was like, let me just try crypto, and if I lose money, that's fine. But I'll know whether or not it's a good thing or not.
So he decided to try it more than once, Travis.
Yeah, he decided that this crypto thing seems to be working out, huh? So I want to ask you a little bit because that's one thing that really, got me about your background is, you were at IBM, you're doing analytics stuff, you've worked with Watson. So, personally as a marketing technologist, having written a book about that data driven stuff is so important to me. I've mentioned that all over the world in my different presentations that I've given, and your sort of sabermetrics approach. I'm a big fan of baseball here in Kansas City. Actually, the creator of sabermetrics, lives in Lawrence, Kansas, not too far from my home. I've met the dude's really smart guy. And data and analytics are so important. And I talk to organizations all over the world about how you need to use your data. And so you've taken this approach, this Moneyball sabermetrics approach, and you've taken that into the cryptocurrency token sale space with these ICOs, and you've created something called token metrics. Now, when I read over and I was seeing all the different data points that you're doing analysis on, and I've seen your spreadsheet, I was like, this dude gets it. He's speaking my language more so than most in the space. And so I wanted you to maybe tell our audience about this sort of token metrics approach and what it is and how you look at ICOs.
Yes. So initially, when I began investing in ICOs, initial coin offerings, I was just like any other naive investor. I was chasing the hype, the FOMO, the fear of missing out. Whichever ICO had the best marketing, the best webpage, the sexiest white paper, the biggest names. But after crunching the data, I realized that I wasn't making as much money as I could have been making. So I told myself there has to be a better way to invest in these ICOs. And being somebody that loved working with data, that was my first problem to solve. I said, okay, let me crunch the data of the best ICOs of all time and see what exactly they had in common and see if I can find any patterns. So I went out there and made a list of about 25 ICOs, and I would sort them by the best ROI, best return on investment for the investor. So the top ICOs are projects like Ethereum, Stratus, Neo, and I'll go through and I'll call as many data points as possible and try to figure out what they had in common. Mm-hmm. So the data told me the first problem was prototypes. All the best ICOs in common, 90% of them had a prototype, some kind of ship code, something that shows that they could execute, whether a test net, a mainnet, a alpha, beta, an MVP, proof of concept, was something that was more than just an idea.
Something that wasn't vaporware, right?
Exactly, right. No white paper ICOs, as I call them, mm-hmm. Right. So just finding that in the data really helped my results. Then the next thing I found is all-star teams. I'll go through, so my data points, there are multiple data points, both quantitative and qualitative data points. So I get things such as every team member's background and the past employer, and same thing for all the advisors. And I try to find what I call all-star advisors, people who have worked for credible companies in the past, typically public companies, or typically well-known open source or blockchain projects in the past. Then I also go through and get token metrics. So that is basically figuring out how much money they've raised, their total token supply, what percentage is being sold to investors, what percent is being kept by the team, the token price. I also go through and see how big the community was, whether the Telegram group, the Slack channel, or the Discord. And I gather all these individual data points on each individual ICO. And then I create a grading system, and I grade all of them. And this then allows me to basically compare each individual ICO on an apples-to-apples approach and give it a single holistic grade on how good that ICO is. Then I take that same grading system and I apply it towards upcoming ICOs to see how well they fare against this grading system.
You had a spreadsheet that you were offering for a time that was kind of transparent and showing people what's going on. Some people said that it's not being updated at the moment, but is this where people can see, here's the list of all the different things that you're tracking that you just described?
Yes. So I had a public spreadsheet that was available online for anybody to see, but I'll go through and share this data and also share my current grading systems or grades for upcoming ICOs. And it kind of just went viral organically from just word of mouth of people seeing the results from it. It came to a point where it got too viral, and I was basically moving the market too much when it came to ICOs. ICOs would sell out in 1 or 2 days, or the whitelist would close in one or 2 days after they got a really high grade because people trusted the grading system. So I took it down indefinitely for now, just to kind of have people go and do their own research. I feel like I've taught people how to fish, how to basically go out there, evaluate ICOs using data. Now I want people to go out there and do it on their own, as opposed to just blindly investing in the spreadsheet.
Is it a little scary when you become a market mover like that and thinking, oh my gosh, this is having an impact on so many people? Is it that you didn't want to, was it scary to do that? Or is it really all just, hey, y'all figure this out?
Initially, I've always been trying to help as many people as possible for free. In a way, I'm trying to open source investment knowledge for anybody, especially when it comes to cryptocurrencies. So I've been trying to reach as many people as possible for free. But although that's a good message, there has been a downside in the sense that I've been moving the markets when it comes to ICOs. So that's why I had to pull it back. But I think right now I'm in the process of trying to figure out a solution, a optimal solution, where the community as a whole can still benefit, but not have so many people, not have my impact move the market so much.
Maybe have like a private group of some sort where you allow certain people in and you have discussions around it, because that's one of the things that's so helpful around this space. There's a lot of people who look at things in different ways, and having a collective of people that you trust kind of, chatting about some of these things are pretty good. One of the things that I loved about your spreadsheet, and actually I had some friends from Australia, so they love you down in Australia, mate. And, they were like, dude, Ian Balina, man, he's, most of my crypto gains have come from checking out his spreadsheet. So then when I checked it out, I was like, okay, he's got the Hall of Famers. He's got the All-Stars, starters, substitutes, and you've had very few Hall of Famers. And the Hall of Fame, ones were the ones that were rated over 90% or more.
Percent.
Yeah. It looks like there's only been two. One Canada code name, which we don't even know what that is, right? And then Exum Chain are a couple. So when you're going through that process and you are determining if someone is a Hall of Fame or All-Star, that's because you're going through all those data points and you are determining, like, how many points were you given to these to the quantitative data points versus the qualitative data points? I mean, some of them seem to be weighted heavier than others, right?
Yes, yeah, because from crunching the data, it does have a higher impact on the success of an ICO in terms of ROI for the investor, right? So my grading system is on a high level, anything above 90% is a Hall of Fame, right? Basically an A, right? Those are projects or ICOs, in my opinion, that I believe are stellar, right? I think there'll be great projects 1 to 2 years long term for anybody who's part of their token sale. Then anything above 80% is what I call an all-star ICO or project. So in my opinion, those are also still very good projects. And anything below that is a starter, then it keeps going down, right? But in general, when I invest in these projects or cryptocurrencies, I only invest in projects that have an 80% or higher, right? So that gives me confidence in what I'm investing in, because I know for the most part, I'll be making money, right? So we then go through and track the data. And I know, for example, that on average, with token metrics, the average ROI of an investment is 5x, which is pretty good, especially in cryptocurrency, to be very consistent, where each ICO you're investing in on average is giving you a 5x return on your money. That basically means $1,000 turns to $5,000, right? So with the system, it's very consistent and stable. So that's why I stick to it.
And $1 million turns to $5 million, and $1 billion becomes, you do the math. I noticed you used the word stellar in there, and I'm wondering if that was a subtle, drop there, because you used to work for IBM, and we've had Jed McCaleb from Stellar Lumens on here very early in the show history, and I'm wondering, what do you think about Stellar's partnership with IBM? That's actually a question from James Franklin in our Mastermind group.
As a former IBMer, I was shocked when I heard the partnership with IBM for Stellar, because as someone who's worked at IBM for a while, I know it's a very conservative company in the sense that although they're ahead of most companies when it comes to the blockchain space and they're really pushing the edge, they're pro-blockchain, but they never really talked about cryptocurrencies. That was kind of a taboo topic to talk about at IBM, right? As most Fortune 500 companies don't really, in the cryptocurrency space, they talk about blockchain, but not cryptos. So I was really shocked when they partnered with Stellar, because in a way, they were kind of giving a slight endorsement to cryptocurrencies, although I do know Stellar is a blockchain. But I was really shocked that they were really kind of pushing the edge and veering away from where they normally would gravitate to.
And so what do you think about Stellar, in your personal opinion?
I mean, I think it's a decent project. I haven't had a chance to. I did used to own some Stellar a while back. I know it's been on a great run the last few months, especially last year, towards the end of December. Ever since the IBM news dropped, it's kind of been taking off. I mean, but long term, I mean, I don't really invest in high cap or high market cap coins or cryptocurrencies. I like to get in early from the ground floor and just kind of hold all the way till the top.
Travis, this is such an interesting contrast because, you know, we Ronnie Moas is a friend of the show, and Ronnie only invests in the top market caps, and it's great to have somebody who's on the other side saying, you know, you're looking at the great projects that have that 5x return.
Yeah, not only that, but if he actually, one thing I love about you, Ian, is that you are very transparent, right? And you know, a lot of people are not transparent. You actually shared your blockfolio, your total portfolio, yesterday or a couple days ago, I believe. Yeah, it looks like yesterday, on Twitter. And so your top holdings, you share those. And I got to say, I'm really happy to see this. You know, Dragon is up there. That's one of my favorite coins. And you and I, we share a similarity in the fact that, and I didn't know this whenever I started investing. I just sort of moved towards this organically, is that I tend to only invest in blockchain platforms and the infrastructure platforms more so than the DApps, right? So I don't seem to invest in those as much, just because I prefer to have the highway in which other people are building on. And if you want to maybe talk about that a little bit as well, as like what your methodology around why you invest in mostly only infrastructure projects.
Right. I mean, because the data backs it up. The best ICOs of all time, for the most part, have been infrastructure projects, right? Ethereum, Neo, Stratus, brand new blockchains have done fairly well. I mean, so especially in a bearish market, they're the least likely to be sold off, right? So, for example, as somebody who likes to invest in infrastructure projects, my best performing projects for the most part are mainly infrastructure projects. Like last year in December, using Tokenmetrics, we're able to invest in 350x ICOs in 1 month, right? Meaning that they turned $1,000 to $50,000 in 1 month in the first month trading on exchanges. And they were Icon, they were Dragon Chain, and they were Wabi, right? 2 of those 3 were infrastructure projects. Both of them were brand new blockchains, smart contract blockchain platforms. So in my opinion, I feel like that's where the power is, or that's where the greatest gains are to be made, because there are platforms that have large network effects. They let other people build on top of them, and they're basically acting as the plumbing for the next web.
So, you know, a lot of people make mistakes when they first get involved in crypto, and some make mistakes even after they've been involved for a while. And since you're so transparent, I wonder, Brian asks in the Mastermind group if you could share some of your earliest mistakes that taught you the greatest lessons.
Yeah, I mean, so I've learned a lot from investing in ICOs and cryptocurrencies. And as I'm working with data, I always keep on trying to evolve it, right? So I recall late last year, probably around September, October. So I made some changes with how I was grading teams, right? And I was actually giving benefit of the doubt to, for example, internships, right? And that didn't really end up doing so well. I had some ICOs, for example, Aventus, Propian, and some other ICOs that didn't do so well, right? So it made me go back to the drawing board, crunch the data some more, and make adjustments. And from there, I've been able to improve. And the months after that, we had a better month and a better month, right? So it's just kind of more evolving each month as we go, seeing what's working, what's not. So, for example, initially I was investing in dApps a lot, right? But after having really good results from infrastructure projects, I tweaked the migrating system to heavily favor infrastructure projects.
Yeah, you know, let me ask you this, and I agree with that, and that, you know, that's my portfolio sort of does the same thing on that. I mean, I'm curious about this. You know, now, you know, bigger money is now flocking to ICOs and pre-sale ICOs, and regulation is maybe on the horizon, and investors in America, right? We maybe don't get to invest in some of these bigger ICOs now. So, you know, do you think that, you know, maybe the chances for these huge, you know, mega moons, right? 50x, you think those are maybe diminishing over time as it's becoming more regulated and people are more focusing on the space?
Yes and no. I'll tell you why I'm giving 2 answers. I feel like the gains are still there. If anything, there's more money to be made now than before, which may seem crazy to some people, but I'll tell you why. The average valuation of a cryptocurrency project is rising. It's a lot higher than it was 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and so forth, right? So, for example, the average valuation for a smart contract blockchain platform, probably at the peak, which was about December, early January, was over $1 billion. That's the average. Right? The market was valuing each smart contract blockchain platform at over $1 billion. Right? Now, imagine a smart contract blockchain platform has an ICO and only raises $15 million, and they have a mainnet launched. Right? This is what happened with Dragon Chain. They only raised $15 million. They already had a full product available, right? And once they launched, a month later, they began having ICOs. Right? They launched,
and the team was backed by Disney. I mean, I looked at this one. I was like, wow, This is like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, all-star team with a mainnet launched. The product was complete, right? And only raised $15 million, meaning they only had a $15 million cap initially. And we know the market was valuing smart contract blockchain platforms at $1 billion. So guess what happened? Dragon Chain went to a $1 billion valuation very quickly in about a month, right? It pulled a 50x, right? So that was the data backed that up, right? So that was kind of an easy pick in my opinion, right? So it shows you that with the rising valuations of projects, and now ICOs for the most part, they're being more modest with how much money they raise. So the potential for large gains and high ROIs are still available. That's why I think there's still a chance to make lots of money in this space, especially in 2018. Now, with that being said, the shift or the evolution I'm seeing in ICO investing is that regulation is now becoming a huge concern to a point where lots of projects are avoiding having public sales. They're only raising privately via a private sale from institutions on funds, and deciding to do airdrops as a way to build a community, as opposed to using a public sale as a way to. And I feel like regulation is the main concern because there's this kind of belief now in 2018 that the SEC will drop the hammer this year and do something regarding ICOs and whether they're securities or not. Right? Because right now it's kind of in a gray zone. Right? That's why most ICOs are avoiding U.S. investors. Right, but we feel like now that gray zone might now become black and white, right? And if some ICOs get caught up in that, they could have some legal issues.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate. You're here in the land of the free and the home of the brave. That we're not trusted with our own money, but I guess they want to protect those that could be easily scammed, and there certainly are scams out there. That's why I'm glad there's people evaluating. Now, I'm wondering, just like an athlete who has those moments that they remember the grand slam or that Hail Mary pass, you've got to have your crowning moment, your investment that blew up unlike any other. So actually, two-sided question. What is your big, grand slam home run as far as your own investment, your best investment? And then on the other side, what's the worst investment that you ever made?
All right. So I'll give you two for the best investment. So on a percentage or ROI-wise, percentage-wise, it was Wabi. Wabi was a very unknown Chinese ICO. Nobody had heard of it, very small team. But looking at the data told us this was a great project, right? Wabi was one of those diamond in the roughs, right? They had a pre-ICO where they only raised $300,000 initially. Their token price was 3 cents. Then they had a follow-up ICO after that. So I was part of both the pre-ICO and the ICO itself. Now, when I was trying to send funds to Wabi, that site was down 2 days in a row, right? So I was very nervous. I'm like, the data's telling me it's a great ICO, but this could be a scam. Right, because as we know in cryptocurrency, there are lots of scams here. But I said, you know what? I believe in the data. Let me go with it. And Wabi, at its peak, ended up giving me a 117x return in about 4 months. Right, so basically $1,000.
That's not horrible.
Yeah. So it's by far been the best ICO for me percentage-wise. Now, in terms of dollar amounts, the best has been Icon thus far. So I was part of an Icon private sale back in September or so. I put in about $20,000 into Icon, and in about 4 months as well, at its peak, it was $2 million in about 4 months. So from $20,000 to $2 million. Icon also pulled a 100x or greater return. So those two are kind of my crowning moments, and where for the most part, my community, who was also following the spreadsheet, also made a ton of money. And that's kind of when my influence kind of went to a whole different stratosphere.
And what would be the other side then? Which one really disappointed you?
Air token is one that disappointed me. That one, I ended up just getting out of it after 2 or 3 months. I think at one point I was down about 60% or so. Then there was also Propi. Propi was a pretty bad investment. Aventus was also kind of bad investment. So I think those 3, for the most part, have been my worst investments using tokenomics, right? And with each bad investment, I try to go back and see, okay, what could have been better? Was there something I missed, right? So it's kind of an evolution.
Yeah, it's definitely an evolving space, and there's a lot of things that, keep changing in it. I mean, you were lucky to, when you got in, right, back in, fall of 2016. I mean, that was a perfect time when Ethereum was less than $10, right? And Bitcoin was 400 maybe, or 500, whatever it was. Kind of a fun time to get in. And so let me ask you this now. 2018, right? We're still in the first quarter of 2018. What are some of the things that you are seeing, or maybe some trends that you're noticing, or maybe even some companies that you're keeping an eye on in 2018?
Oh, in 2018, I'm very bullish on OneChain. It was an ICO last year, around September, October or so. And in my opinion, this is going to be a top 5 to top 10, but I think top 5 project once it's trading on exchanges. So they already have a mainnet. This is by the former CTO of Factom, and Factom already gave its past ICO investors a 200x return in about 3 years, right? So this is a proven team, all-star team, and they're going after a very big space, banking and finance. I like to call them the Chinese Ripple, because they're going after the same space, but it's a better, in my opinion, a better decentralized ledger for finance, right? It's basically cross-chain smart contracts with privacy for banking, right? So cross-chain blockchain with privacy, because banks would like to use the blockchain, but it's the blockchain as well, right? Everything is public, right? So they're basically creating something that is private that they can use, right? So I think the potential is enormous, and I think when it debuts on exchanges, in my opinion, which is likely to happen maybe late this month or early next month, it's going to do very, very well. I think it's going to be bigger than Icon, and Icon was a great investment for me.
What's the symbol for that?
The acronym WAN, but it's not trading yet, but it should be coming out soon.
Yeah, so they raised about $36 million, and they ended their ICO back in early October. And that's got to be interesting for folks. It's 5 months later. They're not on any exchanges yet. What's the delay on that? Why has it taken so long for them to get on the exchanges, do you think?
I think there are various reasons. So once they had their ICO a while back, or pre-sale, then the whole Chinese ICO ban happened, and that delayed them by about 2 months or so. And then they also did have some delays when it came to getting their product out there to the market, right? Because they went from that had to first test the product to make sure it was something worthy of going live. Because once you launch a blockchain, it's launched, right? It's kind of hard to pull it back in, right? So I feel like they had some development snafus that kind of slowed some things down. And then also regulation in the Asia market also slowed things down as well. Because I believe they had to refund some Chinese investors who were part of their token sale.
Yeah. I have a question around your research and so now you've gotten to a point where like, oh, I'm Ian Balina. People are just throwing white papers at me all the time because a recommendation from you is going to, move the market. But for you, when you're doing your own due diligence and Ian, that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on is we don't pump or dump any coins. We don't make recommendations on any coins. We tell in every episode, almost to the fact where it's a joke, where we're not financial advisors, but we encourage people to do their own due diligence. We want them to do their own research. We want them to go out and find the next OneChain, the next Dragon, the next Neo, right? So where do you go whenever you're starting your research and you're trying to find these blockchain infrastructure platforms, these upcoming ones? Where do you go to start your research?
So I have my own private investor groups with other investors that I've been working with for the last 1 year. So just kind of seeing what they're looking at and just kind of sharing different things. So if somebody says, hey, I'm thinking about investing in this project, and I know their history and they're a pretty credible person and have a good reputation of picking good projects, then I'll look into that as well. Then I also have a huge ICO Mastermind community with over 25,000 people on Telegram.
Mm-hmm.
So we go in there and just discuss ICOs. So I'll just kind of go through and just kind of see what ICO names keep on popping up over the course of a week or so. Right. So for example, if I keep on hearing Icon for the last 1 week, I'm like, okay, let me look into Icon. All right. So I kind of use those two methods to do my research. I don't really go to ICO sites anymore. I just I see what's bubbling up.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a public Telegram group that anybody can join, or is that an invite only?
It's semi-private. So to join, they have to go to ianbalina.com/mastermind and just put in an email, and then they'll have access to join.
Excellent. One of our masterminders in our group said that he noticed you sitting in a Lambo in your Instagram story. So I guess the next question is, when moon?
The moon is coming. It feels like there's a moon every month, right? That's kind of the joke now in crypto, right? When moon is next month or every month, right? But so I'm here in LA right now. We're here filming a music video for a first crypto song called Moon Lambo. So I've been making vlogs from traveling across the world. And with the vlogs, we've been adding our own music in the vlogs, right? Because I have a friend of mine who I'm getting into crypto, and he's a rapper. So he's been making crypto raps for me to kind of add to the videos. And now we just kind of decided, as a way to kind of really take crypto mainstream and evangelize crypto to a whole new audience, we're trying to go to totally different cultures, right? To music, to entertainment, to video and fashion, right? So we're trying to really get crypto from being a subculture or a niche to something a lot more people know about, because we feel like for it to go mainstream, we really have to push it forward. So we're doing it with creative things like making a music video.
So Travis, I guess, do we tell them? Because
you probably should now at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've done 2 songs so far. We did a parody of NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye, only it was, of course, BUY. And then over Christmas, we did a 12 Days of Christmas parody. And Travis and I have been writing the lyrics and have the music for a song. And the title of the song, Travis, is
When Lambo, When Moon. That's the name. So. But we have a funny little, it's not going to be like a rap song. It's going to be more sort of like a toy piano, kind of a funny.
Yeah, but there is a rap in it. We're tracking. This is weird. Or we're sharing one crypto mind or something. So we'll have the battle of the dueling Lambo Moon songs. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really funny that we're both tracking on that same stuff for sure.
That's hilarious. So let's do a quick lightning round here. Mark McDonald posted, and these are existing tokens, so you might not have details about each one, or might not have researched them, but it's okay. Just give the first thing that comes to mind. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Ripple or Stellar Lumens?
Ripple. EOS
or ADA?
Oh, wow. EOS.
Bitcoin or Bcash?
Bitcoin.
Ethereum or Neo?
Ethereum.
Monero or Zcash?
Monero.
All right. We have some lovely parting gifts for
That's great.
Travis, go for it.
Yeah, I have another question now. So noticing now that you've been successful in crypto, you've mentioned that you've been diversifying more into other traditional areas outside of crypto, such as real estate, maybe some other things, maybe buying Lambos. Now, is this maybe sort of an exit strategy for you of some kind, or how long do you see these strong gains possible for the crypto space?
I think we'll have a chance to make these strong gains for the next 1 or 2 years, maybe. But 1 year, I think this year for sure, there's still a chance for strong gains. I have been looking into getting into real estate, residential and commercial, as just a way to diversify and take profits from crypto. Because as you know, right, anything could happen in crypto, right? I'm still bullish on the space long term, but just to be conservative, just want to take some money out and put it in something that's passive income, right? So maybe a rental property or something like that.
Very good.
We're going to wrap up here in just a couple, but I'm curious about your prognostication. Get your crystal ball out and take a look to December 31st, 2018. Crypto market cap. That's the first question I want you to give a prediction of. Where do you think it's going to be?
I think conservatively 5 trillion, aggressively 10 trillion market cap.
So I'm wondering then when, right now we saw crypto have a huge rise going into the year, and then, it had its dip. And now, even as we speak right now, this interview will air in a few days, but right now Bitcoin is teasing with at 12,000. It's almost, it's getting close to 12 again. And it's just crypto's just kind of been, slowly easing up and then pulling back a little bit. What do you think will be the thing that sends it on this next stratospheric rise? What's the trigger?
I think 2 possible things could happen. Positive regulation news could trigger, right? Whether the SEC or some other bodies gives it a stamp of approval, or even whether an ETF, for example, is approved. And now we have all the money on Wall Street coming in, right? So I feel like those 2 reasons could be a possible wave of new investors. And then the third one is Bitcoin goes to an even higher all-time high, right? We saw what happened when Bitcoin kind of went from 1,000 to 5,000, then 10,000, then 20,000, right? So I feel like if Bitcoin goes on a big run again, then you have all the mainstream media covering it 24/7, which exposes it to a whole new audience and gets more buyers into it.
Yeah, that was a magical run there. Now, let me ask you this. Because our whole show, Ian, is about teaching the masses how crypto works. We keep it fun. We crack jokes, as you can tell. We keep it entertaining. But we want to help the masses understand the crypto space, because most people in the space, they're so technical. It's hard for people to get a grasp of this space. So maybe what is some advice for somebody who's maybe listening to the show right now? They're teetering back and forth if they should invest in crypto or not. Maybe what would you suggest for somebody who, let's say they have $1,000 and they're like, I just got my tax refund back. I'm going to throw $1,000 in. What would you suggest that they would do, knowing that you're not a financial advisor, but if you were just starting out now, knowing what you know, what would you do with that $1,000?
If I had $1,000 just starting out, I'll just buy Ether, in my opinion, right? This is obviously not financial advice. I'll just buy Ether. Then I'll look into investing in ICOs, right? So I may, as I'm holding my Ether, I'll probably look into which ICOs I like, grade them on my particular grading system, and then maybe invest $100 in each one, or whatever level is good based on which ones are the best, right? So maybe kind of find the best projects I believe in, put the most amount of money in that one, then kind of decrease the amount with each project that's beneath that one.
Beautiful.
Well, this has been incredibly helpful. I'm sure our listeners are going to enjoy this. And now we're going to go invade your Telegram space and see what you got going on in your group there. Ian Balina, ianbalina.com. Thanks so much for joining us today, Ian.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. It's great to have the made man on the Bad Crypto podcast, man. It was beautiful.
He's now made it to the bottom by being on our show.
Started at the top. Now he's here.
It's all uphill from here. Travis, out of all the things that Ian talked about in that interview, the thing that stands out the most is that he's thinking about doing a song that's right along the same lines that we are. When we heard that, I heard you kind of laugh when he mentioned it. And I'm thinking, okay, we need to address this.
Yep. You know what? It's one of those things everybody talks about, Lambos and moons. And so I'm sure there won't be the only two songs that come out in the space about that particular topic. So once we get over our Fleminess, we probably ought to go ahead and record this thing, huh?
Yeah, Fleming McFlemmerton. We're actually going to be together for a week in March. And that's South by Southwest is coming up, gang. And meet us there in Austin. It's going to be the 8th through, I think, the 13th of March. We're going to be there, and we've got the Crypto House. The Crypto House. We are there to pump you up with the bad coins. And also the Bad Crypto Meetup at South by Southwest, badco.in/meetup. And what's the URL for the Crypto House?
For Block House, it's a block house. It's a BLOKHAUS So make sure to check that out. Yeah, Blockhouse, because that's all the other words have been taken, and so we had to go Germanize it.
And there's one more event that's taking place that we are close to being under contract for, Mr. Travis Wright. That's going to extend our trip a couple more days there. Just waiting on that to come through, and then we'll be able to announce that to you guys as well.
And then we're also going to be at another event, the Social Media Marketing World in San Diego. So if anybody is there in San Diego, we may be able to say, hey, maybe not. Yeah. Probably be pretty busy. We might be able to get together, get a little party something somewhere.
We'll have Bad Crypto stickers on hand. So, so if we have those, then come up and say, stick it to me. And Travis will smack one on your forehead.
Hit me with your best shot, and then I'll hit you with a jab.
More great shows coming your way. Thanks for being part of our community. We appreciate you so much. And if you haven't told a friend about Bad Crypto this week, then this would be a good time to do it. Just tell them, hey, if you're not a citizen of the Republic of Bad Cryptopia, then you're nothing.
You're nothing. And if you've never heard our show, if you just heard our show for the first time with the interview with Ian Balina, welcome to the Republic of Bad Cryptopia. Feel free to subscribe to the podcast. We'd like to have a lot of fun over here. And if you've listened to the podcast quite a bit, you know what? Feel free to leave us a nice review on Facebook or on iTunes or anywhere on the intertubes, because that is how you show us love. And the rating system seems to like that stuff.
And really, it's the only way for you to stay back.
Who's bad?
The Bad Crypto Podcast is a production of Bad Crypto LLC. The content of the show, the videos, and the website is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. You shouldn't make any decisions as to finances, investing, trading, or anything else based on this information without undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional financial advisor. Please understand that the trading of Bitcoins and alternative cryptocurrencies have potential risks involved. Anyone wishing to invest in any of the currencies or tokens mentioned on this podcast should first seek their own independent professional financial advisor.